begin the class. We continue the chapter structure of atom. It is the second chapter. It is the sixth day today. Now, in the previous class, I was explaining you, and I have explained you very nicely the concept of quantum numbers, which were an outcome of the solution of the Schrodinger wave equation following higher mathematics. And the quantum numbers which I have explained you are n, l, m, and s. N stands for the principal quantum number. L stands for the azimuthal quantum number, M stands for the magnetic quantum number, and S stands for the spin quantum number. Now, the principal quantum number, the azimuthal quantum number, and the magnetic quantum number are interrelated. Okay. But the spin quantum number is independent of all the previous three quantum numbers. No, so that was what I had explained in the previous class, the concept of quantum numbers. Now, today I would like to move further in this chapter and guide you and teach you regarding some more rules of how to go about writing the electronic configuration after the concept of the quantum number is clear to you. So, on your screen, you can see in the center there is a rule and Hund's rule. It is called Hund's rule. Before this rule, I want to read out one sentence very clearly, and this was stated by Pauli, okay, Pauli, okay, and it was named after him and named as Pauli's exclusion principle. Okay, now the statement goes like this: it is important to note that it is impossible for any two electrons of the same atom, they cannot have the same values of the set of quantum numbers. That means two electrons of an atom cannot have the same values of either n, l, m, or s. This was according to Pauli's exclusion principle. Okay, so since I've explained you the quantum number, that is why I am stating the Pauli's exclusion principle. We'll come across this principle again and again several times in today's class. Okay, now after this Pauli's exclusion principle, we have the Hund's rule. Now, the Hund's rule is that while filling different orbitals of a subshell, the electrons prefer to remain unpaired as far as possible and possess the same direction of spin. Pairing of electrons takes place only when all the orbitals of the subshell are singly occupied. Now let me explain this. Let me explain the Hund's rule. Okay. Let me take the example of say 3D orbital, 3D subshell or the d orbital. So here 3D subshell, I am going to draw the d orbitals. D orbitals are 5 of them: 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now, if I bring say 8 electrons, from somewhere, and I send those electrons, go and fill yourself in the 3D orbital. So what will happen? From these 8 electrons will start and entering the orbital single this way, in this manner, single. Out of these 8 electrons, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 electrons fill the orbital single, and then the remaining electrons, now they pair up. 1, 2, and 3. So now check: 2 electrons here, 2 electrons here, 2 electrons here, 1 electron here, and 1 electron here. So this is called Hund's rule. This is the explanation for Hund's rule. So while drawing according to this Hund's rule, atomic orbitals, okay, according to our principle, the rule is stating that while filling different orbitals of a subshell, this is a subshell, 3D subshell, and these are the different orbitals over here. These are different orbitals. The electrons first, they prefer to remain unpaired, so they occupy the orbitals first single, and then whatever excess electrons, they pair up. So 8 electrons are shown in this manner in this example. So pairing of electrons takes place only when all the orbitals of a subshell are singly occupied. this is Hund's rule. You must learn this. Okay, the statement of the Hund's rule. And like I was talking to the previous class in the morning today, one of the junior classes, whenever you learn something, first try to understand. First try to understand what the statement is trying to say. After understanding, then you correlate what you have understood. Correlate with things around you, around your life, around your home, and that makes your learning easier. Okay, that is called systematic learning. So try to make your learning systematic. Understand. Don't learn things by heart. First try to understand, then correlate, and then further you can memorize to be more accurate in your English language, to be more accurate while writing your answers for chemistry. Your grammatical mistakes are overruled, okay, in that manner. Now, after this, moving to the next slide, I have given one solved example over here. The question says, what are the possible subshells when n is equal to 4? This n stands for principal quantum number. So, further it is written how many orbitals are contained by each of these subshells. Now, when n is equal to 4, the possible values of L are 1 is 0, then 1, 2, and 3. Okay. For 0, we know there is 4s orbital. For 1, we know there is 4p orbital. Value of L, whenever value of L is 0, it is s orbital, but principal quantum number is 4. That's why you put 4 in the front. For value of L1, it is p or p subshell. Principal quantum number is 4. That's why we write over there 4p. Similarly, 2, that is 4d. Then we have 4f. So this is how you should get the possible subshells for a given principal quantum number. Now this implies that the 4 possible subshells are the 4s, 4p, 4d, and 4f subshells. Further, the question they are asking is how many orbitals are contained by each of these subshells. Now let us calculate that. The 4s subshell means s orbital, one orbital, it can hold 2 electrons. Then the 4p subshell, it contains 3 orbitals, 4px, 4py, 4pz, so it can hold 6 electrons. The 4d orbital, 4d subshell contains 5 orbitals. It can hold 5 into 2 is 10 electrons. And then the 4f subshell has 7 orbitals, so 7 into 2, 14 electrons. So this is how you should get the answer. Calculate the number of orbitals, and finally to get the total number of electrons in each orbital, in each subshell. Okay, so this is one solved example which can be asked in the examination, okay, upcoming examination. Now moving to our next question over here, with regard to azimuthal quantum number and magnetic quantum number. Now they are saying what are the possible values of magnetic quantum number values for L is equal to 4. So whenever L is equal to 4, the values of ML ranges from minus L to plus L. So here we know we start with minus 4, then minus 2, minus 3, minus 2, minus 1, 0, plus 1, plus 2, and plus 3. Okay, so plus 3 and one more is there, plus 4. So these are the possible values of ML for azimuthal quantum number 4. Okay, so this is what we must remember over here. This is very important. Okay, so we know that ML, the magnetic quantum number, is dependent on the azimuthal quantum number, and this azimuthal quantum number is dependent on the principal quantum number. Okay, now so answer is already solved. Now look at the next slide, which I have tried to explain in yesterday's class, in the previous class. Principal shell n 1, 2, 3, 4. For principal shell n, that is value 1, subshell, okay, 0. Subshell notation is 1s. Orientation m, magnetic quantum number 0. So just try to go through this chart carefully, because this is something which I have already done yesterday. Okay, for 2s 0, 2p is minus 1, 0, plus 1. Okay, again it goes on like this. So this chart will help you. Please go through it carefully. It will help you to understand the allowable combinations of quantum numbers, which is n or L or m. Okay, this L means azimuthal, this m means magnetic quantum number. Moving to the next slide, which I have drawn yesterday and shown you, the modern quantum numbers notation. Yesterday I have done this very nicely. Okay, K, K shell L M N O. Value of n is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, orbital magnetic number I am talking about. When I say orbital, it is azimuthal, L, azimuthal. Okay, orbital notation, which subshell. Okay, the magnetic quantum number is ML. Okay, so it is given over here in detail. For K, only this much. For L, these are the ones. For M, these are the ones. Okay, for N, these are the ones. Okay, these are the magnetic quantum numbers, and so on. The spin is one is plus, minus, plus, minus, plus, minus, everywhere. Two electron means one electron in the orbital is clockwise, another one is anti-clockwise. So based on this, you can get the number of shells. Okay, maximum number of electrons. So that is also there. It is obtained in this manner. So this chart is also important. Go through it. Go through it carefully. Okay. Now look at the next one over here. This is the type of question which is normally asked in the compulsory part. It says, identify which are allowable combinations of quantum numbers for an electron. Select only those which apply. If you look at the first one, n is 2, L is 1, M is minus 1, Ms is minus 1. So this is not permissible because the spin quantum number has to be either plus half or minus half. Okay. Number B, n is 3, L is 2, Ml is 1. Okay, Ms is plus half. Now here B is permissible. It is possible. Okay. The number C, n is 5, L is 3. Okay, Ml is minus 1. Value of magnetic quantum number, it is possible. It can be minus 1. Ms is minus half. It is possible. But D, E, and F are not possible. If you watch carefully, you will find out. For example, if you look at n is equal to 5, or n is equal to 5, L, it is possible. Just check in the previous slide. For n is equal to 5, value of n is equal to 5. Okay, look at that. M, L, this one is what do you call? L is equal to 5. Okay, it goes on. It starts from minus 5 and so on. Plus and minus is there. Okay, now here for n is equal to 5, L is 5. It is not possible. So only B and C are possible for the allowable combination of quantum numbers for an electron. Okay. Now I would like to give you one question just now. Okay, quickly. I'll write down the question here. An atomic orbital. Answer verbally. Okay, it's an oral question. An atomic orbital has n is equal to 3. The principal quantum number is 3. Okay. Now the question says what are the possible values of L. An atomic orbital has n is equal to 3. What are the possible values of L? So what are the possible values? Azimuthal quantum number. What are the possible values of azimuthal quantum number? We know that L is dependent upon n. So how many values will be there? Because the value of L, I have told in the previous class also, L less than equal to n minus 1 and it should be greater than equal to 0. You have to remember this for the azimuthal quantum number. So tell me, what are the possible values of L? If the value of n is 3, if I put 3 over here, 3 minus 1 is how much?
2.
Huh? 3 minus 1 is how much?
2.
2. Before that, which value is possible? 1. Before that, 0. No? So these are the
0.
possible values of L. Are you getting it? Are you getting it? So the possible values of L are 0, 1 and 2. Now for value of L 0, which subshell? When value of L is 0, what is the subshell? Is it S subshell? For value of
S.
S. For value of L is 1, which subshell? P. For value of
P.
L2, the subshell is D. Are you getting it now? Are you getting it?
Yes,
So
sir.
these are the subshells. Okay. Now let us move. After after this, let us move to the next question over here. Just a second. I'll insert another slide over here. Okay. The other question is like this. An atomic orbital. An atomic orbital has the value of L equal to 3. Okay. So what are the possible values of m, means magnetic quantum number? So we know m is dependent upon the values of L, no? And L is given, it is 3. So what are the possible values of m?
So minus L2 plus L.
Minus L,
Plus
correct.
2
Minus L2 to plus L, isn't it correct? So you start from minus 3, minus 2, minus 1, 0, plus 1, plus 2, and plus 3. Did you get this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm talking about the F orbital electrons, because there are 7 of them. No? Are you getting it? But if the value of L is equal to, say, if I write 2, then if I write L value 2, then what are the possible values of M? If the value of L is 2, what are the possible values of M?
minus
So
2
minus
plus
2, minus 1, 0, 1,
Yes,
2.
very good. Minus 2, minus 1, 0, 0, plus 1, and plus 2. How many are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes or no? How many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this 5 means I'm talking about the D orbital. Because I told you this subshell has how many orbitals? 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. This can be minus 2. These are the magnetic quantum number. These are the magnetic quantum number values, okay, assigned to the electrons present in each orbital. Suppose if I have, say, I'll introduce one more slide over here. Suppose if I write, say, value of L is equal to, let's take 1. Okay, so for values of L, what are the possible values? Possible values of M? Tell me.
So minus 1, 0, plus 1.
Minus 1,
0 plus
0, plus 1. These are the possible values of M, magnetic quantum number for azimuthal quantum number 1. So this is 1 orbital, 2, 3. So this is, I'm talking about p orbital. It is a p orbital. Now p orbital, you know already. P subshell, it has 3 orbitals. This is px, this one is py, this one is pz. Okay, x along the x plane, y plane, and z plane. Okay, it's like this. This is y, this is z. Okay, this is x. Okay, so that I'll come in the next slide. So I think this question is clear to all of you now. Okay, now since this is clear to all of you, let us have a look at the next slide, which is going to help us understand the shape of orbitals. If you look at the next slide on your screen, S orbital, it is spherical in shape. Okay, and Z axis, Y axis, A X E S axis, not axis. Okay, it is axis. Z axis, Y axis, X axis. So S orbital is spherical in shape. P orbital, this one is P orbital. Dumbbell, D-U-M-B, dumbbell. Okay, dumbbell shape. It's like a dumbbell. No? If you go to the gym, no, there you will find dumbbells, but it is like dumbbell. Now over here, they are talking about PZ, because it is along the Z axis. So it is PZ. If it is along the Y, it will be PY. If it is along X, it will be PX. So this is P orbital. Here, just shape only. D orbitals, they have more complicated shape. Okay, Z over here, along the Z plane, along the X plane. Okay, like that. Okay, it's complicated shape. Okay, so it is the two dumbbells come together. okay, like a flower. Okay, so this is a general idea about shape of orbitals. Now let me make this idea clear in the next slide. Okay, now look at it in detail. First is shape of p orbitals. We know p orbitals, there are three of them, 1, 2 and 3. So this could be px, this could be py, this could be pz, 2p. So this is px along the x plane, x axis, like this. Okay, then we have 2py along the y axis. Okay, then we have 2pz along the z axis. Okay, is the idea clear, boys? Is it clear?
So could you explain it again?
Which one? This
So
one?
again.
Shape of p orbitals?
Yes, sir.
P orbital means
Yes, sir.
p orbitals, p subshell. There are three orbitals, no? One is called px because the orbital in which the electron will reside, it is along the x plane, x axis. Are you getting it? You know, when you draw a graph in mathematics, no? While drawing graphs, we know this is x axis, this is y axis, no? In 2 dimension. This one is in 2 dimension, no? 2 dimension. Do you know what is 2 dimension
Yes,
in
sir.
mathematics? Now, here in chemistry,
Yes, sir.
when we imagine orbitals, we cannot imagine in 2 dimension. We have to imagine in 3D, 3 dimension. You must have watched 3D movies. So here, one more orbital comes into play. If this is y axis, if this is x axis, there is one more axis which is called z axis in 3 dimension. Imagine it in 3 dimension. Okay. Now, p subshell has 3 orbitals: px, py and pz. Now for px orbital, the orbital in which electrons are found going around, moving in the x axis only, that is p orbital. That means any 2 electrons over here, if there are 2 electrons over here, one is going this way, another one is coming this way, okay, in this direction, like this, it is possible. Okay, so with opposite spin. Okay, so that is 2px orbital. Now the second one is 2py orbital. The orbital, the electrons in this orbital are moving across the y plane or y axis. Okay, they're moving this way. Then the third orbital, p orbital, is pz orbital. Here you will find the electrons. If there are electrons over here like this, you know, in the 2pz orbital, then electrons you will find them in the z axis or the z plane. Is this clear now? Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now let me make the idea of the z orbital also clear. Okay. Now see, here don't go for the shape. Okay, this shape, it will not be asked in the examination, but what will be asked is this will be asked: dyz, dxy, dz square, dx square minus y square, and dxz. This will be asked. How? I'll tell you. D orbital, the d subshell or the d orbitals, if I draw them according to the above method, then I must draw a rectangle, long rectangle with 5 orbitals. Okay, so the first one will be, if I take it to be dxy over here, dxy, then the next one I will take dxz, this one, then third one I'll take dyz, yz, the next one I'll take dz square, this one, and the last one I'll take dx square minus y square. Okay, now these two, dz square and dx square minus y square, these are called axial orbitals between the plane zz plane and x square and y square plane. Okay, and these orbitals which are here, these are called planar. Planar orbitals. Now, what is the main thing to understand over here is, remember over here is, d orbitals, remember there are how many? 5 of them, and their symbol of the 5 of them. The first one is dxy, the next one is dxz, the third one is dyz, the fourth one is dz square, and the fifth one is the x square minus y square. So I want you to remember this. Each of these d can accommodate a maximum of 2 electrons. So here you can see the shape of the orbitals, which is not so important. Just remember, they have the d orbitals. They have complicated shape, more than two dumbbells clubbed together, because this is quite different. These all are also different from each other. Okay, now moving to the next slide over here. Shapes of s, p, d and f orbitals. See, s orbital is spherical, p orbital is dumbbell shape, d orbital is complicated shape. Okay, and f orbital is much more complicated shape, much more complicated. You cannot imagine it, not in the syllabus of BSc also sometimes. Okay, no. So this is just to clear your picture in your mind regarding the shape of orbitals. Now the question is, what are the shapes of s and p orbital? Tell me the answer.
Spherical and dumbbell.
Very good. So that is the question which will be asked. It will not be asked what is the shape of d orbital. If it is asked by mistake, then you have to say it is a complicated shape. Okay, that is sufficient. Now have a look at the next slide over here. It will make your idea much more clearer. Okay, s orbital is here. Then after the s orbital, you see there is an orbital over here like this. Okay, now it is marked over here node. Node is a point where an electron cannot be located. You cannot put an electron over there. The plus half electron will move this much only. The minus half electron will move in this region only, making it an orbital. So wherever you don't find electron, that is called a node, or a, if you put a paper vertically over here, that becomes a nodal plane. Okay. Similarly for the px orbital, for the py orbital, for the pz orbital, node is here. Okay, this is half part, positive part, maybe this can be negative part. Okay, that way. Okay, are you getting it? Px, py and pz. Okay, now after that, let us move to the next part of the chapter. Filling of electrons in different orbitals and electronic configuration of elements, which is the most important part of chemistry for you all in class 11. This is the most important part which you have to understand. Taking the help of this part, you will be able to write down the electronic configuration of almost all the known elements which have been discovered and manufactured by man so far. So let us go through the principles and the rules quickly, which are called electron configuration rules. Because in class 8, I remember you have learned definition of electronic configuration, which means it's a distribution of electrons across various shells or subshells or orbits or orbitals. Okay, but here we have a different story. We have to follow certain principles, certain rules, and then only we can correctly write down the electronic configuration of elements. Now, if you look at the first one over here, it is called Aufbau. It is called Aufbau principle. Aufbau principle, which states that electrons occupy the lowest energy level orbital first. For example, if I have 1s orbital, 2s orbital, 2p orbital, if I send over here only 3 electrons, if I send 3 electrons and tell them go and fill up the orbitals, so from these 3 electrons, 2 will get filled over here, and then only the remaining will go to the 2s orbital. It is not that all these 3 orbitals will go and occupy the 2p orbital. This way it is wrong. So that is the meaning of Aufbau principle, which states that electrons occupy the lowest energy orbital first. Once the lowest energy orbitals are filled up, then only the remaining electrons will move on to the next higher energy orbitals. Okay, so this is a very important thing. I will discuss the diagonal rule to determine the order of filling after some time. Okay, if possible today or in the next class. Now, look at the next rule over here, which is called the Hund's rule, which states that electrons will occupy an empty orbital first and fill the orbitals singly once all the orbitals of the same subshell have been completely filled then only the pairing takes place. So this is something which I have told today's class only, the very first or the second slide. Okay, so again I repeat, Hund's rule states that electrons occupy an empty orbital first if it is available. Then the Pauli's exclusion principle states that the electrons sharing an orbital have opposite spins, one arrow pointing up and the other arrow pointing down. This is one part of Pauli's exclusion principle. The correct statement I will discuss after some time. Now Pauli's exclusion principle in much more detail. Okay, see, look at this. This is not possible. They have to have opposite spin. This is not possible. This is correct. This is also not possible. That is what I am trying to say. So the Pauli's exclusion principle states that no two electrons in an atom can have the same set of four quantum numbers n or l or m or s. If I put the arrows both up like this, it means plus, plus, plus. It is not possible. One has to be plus, one has to be minus to make the spin quantum numbers collateral and obey the rule. For a given orbital, thus the value of n, l, m are always fixed. Thus, if you want to put more than one electron in an orbital and satisfy the Pauli exclusion principle, our only option is to assign different values of s. That means, if the value of n is same, if the value of l is also same, if the value of m is also same, but the value of s need not be same, it has to be different, then only it is permissible. Okay, we know that there can be only two s value possible for the electrons. Okay, so we conclude according to this Pauli's exclusion principle that an orbital can hold a maximum of two electrons only, and they must always have opposite spin, so they cannot have the same spin. Okay, now look at the next slide once more regarding the Hund's rule of maximum multiplicity. Yes.
So in the previous slide, no, why was the last drawing cancelled?
This last drawing was cancelled. This one, no, because both the electrons are having the same spin. No, they
So
cannot have
before
this.
that, positive and negative, so
This is
just
correct.
to the left
This,
of that.
this is cancelled. This is cancelled. This is cancelled. This is correct because orbitals contain electrons, and electrons should have opposite spin, clockwise, anti-clockwise, clockwise, anti-clockwise. Is that clear? Is that
Yes.
clear? Okay. Now look at the next slide. With regard to Hund's rule of maximum multiplicity, which I have told you that time also, states that the electrons start pairing only when all the degenerate orbitals of a subshell are singly occupied with parallel spins. Degenerate orbitals means what? Orbitals having same energy level, same energy level. So degenerate orbital means orbitals having same energy level. For example, they have given nitrogen. No? Nitrogen. See, nitrogen. If you look at the atomic number of nitrogen, it is 7. Is it 7? Atomic number of nitrogen is 7. What
Yes,
is the
sir.
electronic configuration? 2 and 5. No. Is it 2 and 5?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if I write down the electronic configuration, then I must use 1s, 2s, and 2p. No. So out of these 7 electrons, 2 electrons will come over here. Out of the 5 electrons, 2 electrons will come over here because s orbitals can accommodate only 2 electrons. So 2 plus 2 is 4. Remaining 3 electrons go to the 2p orbitals. So that is how, if you go ahead to fill the 2p orbitals, 1, 2, 3, these are the 2p orbitals. So these 3 electrons will occupy the orbitals in this manner, 1, 2 and 3. Am I clear? Am I clear? And the 2s orbital is like this, 2 electrons. 1s orbital is like this, 2 electrons. So this is 1s, this is 2s, and this is 2p orbital. The first one is 2px, 2py, this one is 2pz. Am I clear? I will show you one more example. Just hold on. Let me introduce one more slide over here. If I take say, see, I will take scandium. Okay, scandium. Scandium is a d block element. Okay, its atomic number is 21. Okay, atomic number is 21, which means electrons, number of electron is 21. Okay, now let me write down its electronic configuration. Let's write down. Okay, so scandium electronic configuration, it is 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6, then 4s. Just take the total: 2 plus 2, 4 plus 6, 10, 11, 12 plus 6, 2, 4, 10, 11, 12, 12 plus 18, 19, 20, and then 3d1. This is d orbital. So when you draw the orbital this way, this is 1s, then this is 2s, then there is 2p is like this, 2p, then there is 3s, then there is 3p orbital, 3 of them, then there is 4s, okay, then there is finally 3d, okay. 3d, there are 5 orbitals, 1 2 3 4 5, okay. So when you start putting the 21 electrons, this goes first like this. This is 1s, is a subshell. So out of 21 in the same orbital, this way complete 1 2 3 4, then 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 15 16 17 18 19 20 and then 21. Did you understand now, all of you? Which means this subshell, after occupying all the electron in a subshell single, then only the pairing takes place. Did you observe? Did you understand, all of you? So this is Hund's rule of maximum multiplicity. Any question you have? Any question? Anybody?
So
Yes.
No, sir.
Okay.
after the third P takes full electrons, then it comes the third 3s.
Yeah, after 2p, then 3s, then 3p, then 4s, and then 3d. Actually, normally what happens, the energy of 3d is lesser, so it is sometimes placed over here, okay. But that I'll teach you later on with the rule, okay. But just now, just try to understand the Hund's rule, okay. Now look at the main thing over here, which I've explained already. Illustration: Hund's rule of maximum multiplicity. Empty 3d orbitals. I am giving 5 electrons, so this is how the electrons are occupied first, okay. Now after that, if I give 5 more electrons, then only the 5 extra electrons which I've added the second time, they will start doubling up the orbitals this way, which makes them total 10 electrons altogether. It is completely filled. This is a state which is called completely filled. It is completely filled, and this one is half filled. Half filled and completely filled orbitals are stable. Okay. Half filled and completely filled orbitals are what? They are stable. Okay. Now, if you look at the time very carefully on your screen over there, it is already 2:30. Is it?
Yes.
Okay. So I think
Yes,
I
sir.
will end my class here only. But just hang on for a moment over there. I need to record the attendance for today. Okay. Then only you can leave the class. Okay. Just hang on.
So,
Is Sonam present? Okay. Never mind. He's vanished. Just a second. There are 36 boys only today. Okay, the attendance is taken. Now you may leave the class. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.
thank you.